He woke with a sharp gasp. For a moment, Brandon Hale couldn't tell what was real. His heart hammered against his ribs, his breath tight, and the remnants of a dream clung to him like smoke. Warm skin, soft perfume, a whispered name. Then something shifted beside him. He froze. Someone was in his bed. He turned his head slowly, and the world flipped, lying inches away from him. Her dark hair spilling like ink across his white pillow, her hand resting lightly over his chest, was Grace Carter, the CEO of Carter Innovations. The same Grace who had fired him just 2 days ago. The same Grace he had spent the last 3 years silently admiring from afar. The same Grace he had dreamt about last night, convinced that the dream was just the desperate creation of a heart that wanted something it couldn't have. But she was here, real, breathing softly beside him, and she looked nothing like the untouchable CEO the world knew. She looked fragile. Brandon sat up too quickly, and dizziness washed over him. Grace! Her eyelids fluttered, and then she opened her eyes. Deep hazel, confused, unfocused. Brandon? He felt the shock hit them both at the same time. She pushed herself up, clutching the sheet around her. What? How did I get here? I was hoping you'd tell me, Brandon said, trying to keep calm though panic crawled up his throat. The last thing he remembered was drinking alone after losing his job, after Grace, with her stone-cold professionalism, told him budget cuts meant he was no longer needed. He'd walked out of her office shattered, feeling the weight of failure pressing on him from every angle. He had gone home, collapsed onto his couch, and somewhere between tears and exhaustion, he drifted into a dream where she told him she believed in him, that she cared, that she was sorry. But now she was here, and this was no dream. Grace rubbed her forehead, wincing. I remember leaving the office late. I remember. Her voice trailed off, and something flickered in her eyes, a kind of pain she kept well hidden. Then I remember your name. And then, nothing. Brandon swallowed. Were you drinking? No. I haven't had alcohol in years. The silence between them tightened with confusion, fear, and something unspoken. Brandon finally forced himself to breathe. Okay, let's just figure this out. Grace nodded, grateful for something solid to hold on to. Okay. They both got dressed awkwardly, avoiding each other's eyes. But when Grace stepped into his small living room, something inside her cracked. Brandon watched her as she took in the modest space. Second-hand furniture, a worn-out rug, walls with posters instead of paintings. This wasn't the world she lived in. Her life was glass towers, boardrooms, spotless penthouses, and calendars filled with obligations. Yet she looked relieved to be here. Coffee? Brandon offered, breaking the tension. She nodded. He handed her a mug, and their fingers brushed. Her breath hitched almost imperceptibly. Grace, he said gently, why did you come to me? Of all people. She stared into her cup as if the swirling dark liquid might reveal an answer. You were the only one I trusted. The words shocked them both. Grace's face flushed. What I mean is, you were loyal. You worked harder than anyone. You never asked for recognition. You never played politics. You reminded me of why I started the company in the first place. Brandon blinked. Grace, you fired me. Her eyes glistened. And I regret it. I was under pressure. I made decisions based on fear, not logic. He had never seen her like this, vulnerable, human, trembling at the edges. He set his mug aside and sat across from her. What happened last night? Grace finally lifted her head, revealing the truth she had been resisting. I had a panic attack. The admission left her shaking. I've been having them for months, she whispered. But last night it was worse. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like the world was closing in. And the only name I could think of, the only person whose presence ever calmed me, was you. Brandon felt something inside him crumble. All those years he thought she never noticed him. She noticed. More deeply than he ever imagined. I must have taken a taxi here, Grace continued. But I don't remember the ride. I just remember knocking on your door and then passing out. Brandon remembered opening the door to see her collapsing into his arms. He had assumed he was dreaming and carried her to his bed to rest. A soft, painful silence settled between them. "Grace," Brandon said quietly, "you're not alone. You don't have to keep pretending you're made of steel." Her chin trembled. "I don't know how to be anything else," she whispered. Brandon stood, walking to her side. "Then let me help you." She looked up, her hazel eyes searching his face for sincerity. "You were there when I lost everything yesterday," he continued. "But I never blamed you. I knew you weren't as cold as you made yourself appear." Her breath shook. "You see too much." "I see you," he corrected softly, and something in her broke open. She leaned forward, her forehead pressing against his chest, her voice cracking. "I'm so tired, Brandon." He wrapped his arms around her without hesitation. "I know." The hours that followed were slow, healing, honest. Grace told him about the pressure from the board, her father's failing health, the crushing loneliness of leading a company that expected her to be perfect. Brandon told her about his fears, of not being enough, of feeling invisible despite giving everything. Two broken worlds, finally speaking. Two hearts, finally hearing each other. By late afternoon, the panic that brought her to his door had softened into something warmer, quieter. Grace stood near the window watching the sun dip low. "Brandon," she said, "I need to fix what I broke, starting with you." He blinked. "What do you mean?" "I want you back at the company." He opened his mouth to object, but she lifted a hand. "Not because I pity you," she said firmly, "but because you're brilliant and loyal, and we need someone like you. I need someone like you." This time, there was no steel in her voice, only truth. Brandon exhaled. "I don't want to come back unless you're taking care of yourself too." Grace smiled faintly. "Then, will you help me learn how?" His heart did a quiet somersault. "Yeah, I will." A delicate pause. Then she stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Brandon, was last night really just an accident?" He held her gaze. "Do you want it to be?" She didn't answer with words. She reached up and gently took his hand. Her fingers trembled, but she didn't let go. And in that moment, Brandon realized something powerful. Sometimes the universe pulls two people together not through grand gestures, but through a moment of desperation, vulnerability, and unexpected truth. That night, he walked her to the door. "Thank you," Grace said softly, "for not treating me like a CEO, for treating me like a person." "You are a person," he murmured, "a remarkable one." A blush colored her cheeks. "I'd like to see you again. Outside of work. I mean," Brandon's heart lifted. "I'd like that too." Before she stepped out, she paused. "Brandon, yeah. If last night was a dream, it was the kind I don't want to wake up from." He smiled. "Then maybe it wasn't a dream at all." She smiled back, warm, real, full of hope, and walked into the night. Brandon closed the door gently, pressing his hand to it as if feeling the last bit of her presence. For the first time in weeks, maybe years, his chest felt full, not with fear, but with something new: possibility, maybe love, and a promise that sometimes life's strangest, most impossible moments become the ones that matter most. Because he thought it was just a dream, but it turned out to be the beginning of something real.